Okay. I just opened my book and I find my bookmark at 2829. I almost intentionally never remember so that I can rely on others to tell me where we left off, or we just decide together where to start, where to pick back up. I think we may have even finished so that we could start fresh in chapter 2. Does anyone remember or have a desire or preference?
Page 90, 91.
In realization?
Yes.
90, 91?
Oh, is that close?
I only got to page 30.
Oh, okay.
Maybe there's something significant at 90, 91. Gail, you have a way. You're knowing.
Well, I haven't read it, but there is a little bit of I am aligning.
I love it. There's an attunement on page 91. Would you read that for us, Gail?
Sure. I am aligning the divine will to all that I encounter. I become as divine will in my acquisition to it, and I allow the divine to decide with me, as me, and from me, as I become one in time, in tone, in vibration, with the amplitude of the true self expressed as will, the divine as will. Word I am word.
Word I am word. Would you like to continue to read from there? Do you have the book with you or access to?
I do not. This is the book that I have. My books are all packed away, so I will try and remember.
You'll just follow along. You'll let us read.
I'll follow along. Oh, that'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful because each time I read the book over or I go back to a book, it's like I'm discovering something brand new. It's like, wow, I don't remember reading this, or maybe I didn't understand it then. So it feels like something new. It's amazing.
I think it's universal.
It seems.
I've heard people speak to that. They use the same description.
Yeah. It's like I've never even read the book. And some of them I've read twice.
It's ever new. Behold, we make the text new.
Behold, we make all things new.
Okay. I'm sorry I interrupted a little bit. Are you willing to just continue to read from there? It doesn't matter what page we're on, Gail. Oh, there you are.
Mm-hmm. I remember now that we did end off, and we did a start on day 5.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to go back to there?
No, I love that you brought us here. Let's be with what is.
Okay.
It's the flip and dip method.
Okay then. The divine as what you are in alignment is the active will as the divine force that expresses itself in certainty upon this plane. What does that mean? In certainty? Yeah. In certainty means you are in your knowing. In any active will is chosen in accord, in truth, with the who and the what that you are. And the dilemma of the past, should I not, are actually released as the true self in its mandate claim, as the true self in its mandate claims and world anew. You become the vibration of the Christ itself in manifestation, in action, and agreement to everything you see. Underline the word everything. The divine as you, in its perspective, claims the manifest world and lifts it to its presence. It does not confirm negative amplitude or fear. It does not agree to the old because it exists beyond it. It does not confirm collective agreement simply because it exists in a realm that has not been defined by the collective. Oh, I like that. I like how they define that.
Read it again.
Underline the word everything. The divine as you, in its perspective, claims the manifest world and lifts it to its presence. It does not confirm negative aptitude or fear. It does not agree to the old because it exists beyond it. It does not confirm collective agreement simply because it exists in a realm that has not been defined by the collective. If for all to imagine that a certain heaven resembles a certain thing, that is where you would all go to beyond your passing, to the expected realm of the hereafter. That would be the collective agreement, informing the other world. In fact, the upper room, the fabric of the divine in expression in manifestation, holds no barrier to definition, but cannot be defined by the old because the old does not express here. Understand what this means. Imagine you have a sweater, a nice old sweater. It has memory. The nice old sweater does not exist in the upper room as it has because it does not retain the memory of what it was, nor are you endowing it with memory or codifying it because you have, no need to. It is still a sweater, what you may know as a sweater. But in fact, what it is the thing you might wear to protect the body, and not more than it means. Do you understand the concept? Everything you cherish because you were taught value. Everything you disclaim because you were taught its lack of merit. And the scale of value that you operate with in this lower chord does not exist in the upper room. If you wish to embark on a memory cited value, you may do so. We do not deny you that. But we are saying the level of release that is available to you, each in a high octave, precludes you from enmeshing yourself in the data of history that, like it or not, will reclaim you in the low vibration that you know of as your history. Why is your history low vibration? Well, in fact, it is not. But your history is only what you think it is. Do you understand that? My mother was cruel to me. You understand your mother, once again, through the lens of data, the information of history that you have been claimed by, the claim of good and evil, good and bad, high and low, as decided by your culture or the things you've thought must be true because you believe them to be so. We are speaking to you as beings who can choose to align the will beyond the codification of time. And all memory is an idea of what happened in another time. And the idea of time itself is really just a construct that you have invested importance in. When I was 15, I looked quite wonderful, says the one whose memory of the age of 15 is fraught in the memory of what she was not or should have been or might have been. When I was 15, I looked a certain way, and that certain way is an idealization of self that is perpetuated by the lens of memory and nothing more. The world you see, everything you see around you, has been labeled by those who came before you. And you wander this world interpreting those labels and thinking what things have been called are what they truly are. In fact, what is available to you in comprehension in the upper room exists beyond the known. And as you agree to this, your learning truly begins. We will stop this lecture now. This is the end of the last chapter of text. Period, period, period.
Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome. There was a lot in there.
There was a lot in there, and I'd like to go back and hover over a few points. Does anyone have an observation or an inquiry or a reflection they'd like to share? I'll start. This business of, let's see. The nice old sweater does not exist in the upper room as it has because it does not retain the memory of what it was, nor are you endowing it with memory or codification because you have no need to. It is still a sweater, what you may know as a sweater, but in fact what it is a thing you might wear to protect your body and not more than it means. And I forget which book they introduced this idea, and it was this, they provided a lot of instruction and exercises to see things as they truly are and to be able to uncollapse the meaning and the value that we've assigned to it, like a house, for instance. So some people think or relate to a house or identify with a house as giving them importance that speaks to some form of status. But the guides point out that basically all a house is just ground up creator, reformed in the shape of walls to protect us from the elements. That's it, to be comfortable and to have a place to hang the clothing and to put food in the fridge. It's just this function of comfort and protection. That's all that it is. And everything else we heap on it is story, misidentification.
Stories that have been given to us by other people.
Yes. Yeah. If you live in a small house, that's what it means. If you live in a big house, that's what that means. Like Cindy, when you first joined us, you pointed out so, perfectly that we learned this from the get-go.
Mm-hmm. Yes, from a very early age.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question, and I'm sorry I don't have the book in front of me, but for some reason this is sort of sticking with me, that in the upper room there is no confirmation of the collective agreement. Is that, I mean, where am I getting? Is that that seems to be what we're saying, right? Is that we all are in agreement that, this is a sweater, but what kind of sweater? Is it a Gucci sweater? It seems to be that we're being asked to let go of the meaning that it once held for us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's saying that in order to be in the upper room, it's either an indication that we are in the upper room when we no longer are in agreement to these things of the known.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah. If I can find a sentence or two that say it more in guide speak, I'll share it.
Okay.
It's at the bottom of page 91.
Do you want to read it to us?
In fact, the upper room, the fabric of the divine in expression, in manifestation, holds no barrier to definition, but cannot be defined by the old, because the old does not express here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so to be in the upper room truly means to be in wonder and awe and curiosity without any preconceived idea of the thing we're beholding. My guess is that is how we make a new world. Mm-hmm. Great. Any other reflection or discussion about this section? That's the last couple of pages on chapter 4.
I'm sorry, Kristina. I do have a question. Gail, thank you. Beyond the codification of time,
Mm-hmm.
was that in reference to time itself?
Mm-hmm. It was, oh, I love this. Right. They were dipping more deeply into the nature of memory and what memory is. And the codification, because you're going to need to, I'm looking. We are speaking to you as beings who can choose to align the will beyond the codification of time. And all memory is an idea of what happened in another time. And the idea of time itself is really just a construct that you have invested importance in. When I was 15, I looked quite wonderful. Da 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 da. Uh-huh.
Great. Thank you.
And that certain way is an idealization of the self that is perpetuated by the lens of memory and nothing more. Isn't it interesting how much we have invested in memory? Someone tells a story and someone's listening and said, that's not how it was. That's not what happened. And thinks the person's crazy or wonder what's wrong with them. They got a screw loose. They remembered it wrong.
Mm-hmm. You know? Perception.
Perception. There's that wonderful saying that we see things not as they are, but as we are. And then for each and every single one of us, there's a different perception of what is happening. And
isn't it true?
And then we have the gall to imagine that there was just one way.
And we all have our own story.
And are invested in it. And then we make it right or wrong, or we make other people right and wrong because they don't have the same memory.
Exactly.
Oh, memory is quite malleable also. So there's perception, individual perception and lens. And then there's many different states that we call memory back.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's very changeable. So,
and do you think all that is even influenced by past lives? Because I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and we recall things from our past history, like what you were saying, when we were younger. Different. Wondered that, because we have the same parents, we were raised the same way. But I'm just thinking now, maybe our past lives come into it and influence how we perceive things now.
Well, it would sort of have to be, wouldn't it? I mean, I have this little grand niece who, I think she's like maybe 7 or 8 now, but ever since she was walking, we always had these birthday parties and I would always have these balloons. I'd have to get rid of the balloons before she walked into the room. And she has this phobia against balloons. And she's only 4 years. At the time, she was only 4 years old. And so I thought, you know, that has to be something, that has to be a carryover because she's never had an experience with a balloon in her 4 years of life. Mm-hmm. So I think that's an interesting question, Gail.
It is actually, it's also timely. And I'm gonna share personally. And last night I had a dream that as I was waking, it was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. And as I was waking, I said, "Oh my God, I was remembering my past life with my partner." And he and I both have a lot of past life recall. He remembered us in Corinth within moments of meeting one another. I didn't have that recall. But it was obvious very early in my relationship that I would move in with him. And it didn't take me long. And there's been a theme throughout that I feel like an indentured servant, or I feel like not necessarily a prisoner, but I have this experience of this house trapping me and holding me in a way. Now, the truth is that I have all the freedoms in the world. Absolutely. I come and go as I want, but I tend not to. I feel this gravity that holds me here. So I bring people to me into the house instead of going out in the world now that I live here. So last night, the dream was that I had a captor, like truly a captor that was keeping me against my will. And in this dream, it was my partner. And I was like, oh my gosh, we are working this out. Next iteration, here we are, and we're growing out of this other time that perhaps I was prisoner.
Wow. Maybe clearing it, working it out, working it through this time.
Yeah. And there's this love, this profound, transcendent love. And maybe this time we get to love each other, but not be bound in this agreement to be captor and whatever the other word, cap D, is that a word? So, but isn't it interesting though, that if I have that to work out, that I might see him and this place through the lens of being trapped somehow as I heal it,
What a gift.
my lens.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's not how it is. That's the lens I happen to be seeing it through as I heal.
Wow, that's a big one.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's very interesting. And Gail, what were you asking about your siblings? Oh, if there's memory.
The way that you remember your parents, etc., and times in your childhood are vastly different for each of you. Is that right?
If that would be maybe influenced by past lives rather than just what has happened in this life now. And it sounds like by Kristina's experience, that's amazing. That's a gift to know instead of just feeling so bad about it.
Yeah. So
that
I can be awake to what it is that I'm bringing through my perception.
That's a good point, Gail, not to suppress it because it might be frightening.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Look at it more objectively. Yeah. Good.
As a side note, by the way, we're speaking about this house and how I bring people toward me. I don't have to go out. Pavitra, who is a regular with us, she's from Seattle. She's on vacation and she's on her way right now. I've never met her in form, but she's going to be a guest in our home because she came to Yosemite and she's passing through the area here in the foothills of the Sierras. And so we have a book group member who's going to come and visit. We'll have maybe we'll do the next call on Sunday together.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't that great?
Sorry about that, you guys. I lost communication there for a second, so I wasn't able to hear.
Oh,
if I'm unresponsive, that could be why.
Okay, I'm just commenting that Seattle is getting represented in the house here shortly. Okay, anything else before we move into maybe we could jump back to that place where we left off. Okay. Chapter 2, I know how I serve. Day 5 in the channeling. Would anybody else like to volunteer to start to read here?
I will, Christine.
Thank you, Donna.
I know how I serve. Day 5. Now, some of you decided that you should be based upon the agendas that you've inherited. You define yourselves by your achievements, how the world perceives you, and you direct your lives to fulfill a prophecy of what you think you should be. I will be happy when I have received this or that, afford this or that, claimed this or that. And the lives you live become a testimony to idolatry. And what we mean by this is the acquisition of things, the claim of power or assertion of power over others becomes an objective which is not the true self, nor would it ever be. You may claim a good life. Anything may be known as the true self. But what the true self requires is its realization. And anything that stands before that is an anathema to the divine self. Now, when an obstacle presents itself on your path, you have an opportunity to comprehend it. See where you have chosen it or why you have it, and then dismantle it. But you dismantle the structure by realizing what it has been, simply an idea that you have gone into an agreement to. You have asserted its meaning and agreed with the collective that it's what you should have or be or do. The definitions you hold about what success is must be seen by you for what they are: inherited ideals, emblems, directives that were chosen by others that you ascribe meaning to. What you give meaning to, you empower, you justify, and then you create in accordance to. What it means to be a man or a woman becomes a directive that should be fulfilled through the agendas that you perceive or have claimed to be meaningful. Now, when we teach you, we see you as you are, beyond the small self's decision for what she should be. And we ascribe meaning to only what is true. And your definitions of truth must be understood as having been acquired for you throughout the millennia. We will redefine truth if you wish. What is true is always true, and anything true will always be true. It is true we were here with you today and in this moment. We will always be here with you in this moment. We will not always be here, nor will you, as the moment passes. But it is true in this moment. Throughout your perception of time, we will be here in regard with you in instruction. You want me to keep going or any thoughts?
Any thoughts?
Well, one thing that sticks with me, I think that we talked about a little bit earlier, were these inherited ideas prescribed by others. That's basically how we learn to live our lives.
Yeah.
It's really interesting when you think about that. And I think it can be painful for some of us who have deviated from those family ideas. I come from a family of 5 girls, and I was raised extremely Catholic in the Catholic, Italian Roman Catholic Church. Most of my sisters are still practicing Catholics and are really upset that I'm not. You know, it's so sometimes it's painful to step out of those inherited beliefs that we grew up with. It can be very painful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the separation is painful.
Yes.
Yeah, separation. Well, especially when you know the truth
Yes.
of your divine connection with these souls and these other sacred humans. And yeah, it is fascinating, our agreement to this deal where it's more important. Ideology is more important than our humanity.
Or the idea that somebody might be superior to another,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or a race might be unequal because of what we heard when we were kids constantly about a race or a religion. It's interesting when you start thinking about everything that you've inherited. It's really interesting. And then to go to move away from things that are not true.
And what is true is always true. And so any value that we would ascribe here in this lifetime isn't true. It's just, it's a passing idea.
Mm-hmm.
The definitions you hold about what success is must be seen by you for what they are: inherited ideals, emblems, directives that were chosen by others that you ascribe meaning to. That's what success is. It's an ideal that we've inherited. Not true.
Not true. Not capital T true.
Hi, Paul. Any other thoughts before Donna reads a little bit more?
All right. Now, tomorrow, you may be someplace other, and in that moment in time, throughout the history of what you know of as time, you will always be imprinted there. It is always true that you are where you are in the moment you stand in. Even if where you are is only comprehended by the small self in a physical reality, although you are present in multiple strata. It is not always true that we are with you or you with us. It is not always true that you are male or female, or what you think you are, or your profession, or the color of your eyes or complexion. You are not the one you think you are. You believe yourself to be what you thought you were, and the thought of being as you have accrued evidence through your magnetic field to justify your ideas. You are always being coached in some way to define yourself through your interchanges, your realization of who and what you are in benefit to others, in exchange with others, but the coaching you receive is always a reinforcement of what you have believed yourself to be. Now, as you move beyond the known to the true self, who is always present, underline always, regardless of the color of your skin or your gender or the name you were given at birth, the true self is always true. And the manifestation of it as who and what claims the divine as the fabric of expression. And I'll stop there. That's been a mouthful.
It is not always true that you are male or female, or what you think you are, or your profession, or the color of your eyes or complexion. You are not the one you think you are. They provided an exercise to look at yourself in the mirror and say to the way that you look, say to your form. Does anyone remember this? What was it? They wanted us to look at ourselves and say, this is not who I am. This is part of who I am, but it's not who. It's an aspect of the creator, but it's not who I am. I love it. It's very freeing. And this male and female business and gender stuff, it's also confirming to me, because I think I got off easy a little bit, or I just, being girl and woman was fine, because it didn't seem to matter to me. Like I never identified with it. I didn't identify with anything else either. I just never got, I don't know. And because of that, because I really never strongly identified with like the experience of a woman, I've also never experienced sexism. I never got treated as a second-class citizen because I didn't identify as one. And when I've said this to groups of people that I have yet to experience sexism, I know it happens to other people, but it hasn't happened to me. I wonder if it's because I just never really thought of myself as a woman. I always thought of myself as an eternal being passing through, using this body. And it's fine that it's a female one or whatever.
Interesting.
So I always held it really lightly. And so I've never attracted the lessons that come with the codification of the identification. France. I think I saw a little sexism when I was in France. I've never been to the East, so this is an easy thing to say in my little bubble. I'm sorry, Cindy. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just going to say, it reminds me of the Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey. More recently, listening to Jean Houston and how she's explaining to us that now's really the time for the heroine's journey. It is the heroine's journey. So meaning that, not meaning heroine in woman, but meaning that the feminine nature of divinity is both masculine and feminine.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. Yeah. I don't know why that popped into my head.
Might be who Jean Houston is.
Jean Houston, Dr. Jean Houston, she was fortunate enough to work with Margaret Mead. She's met Einstein. She is a professor. She was a professor with Joseph Campbell. She currently is 84 and she's still on her lecture circuit discussing quantum powers. So it's everything that Paul and the guides are talking about. It's just more confirmation for me, from a scientific, but sometimes when you try to explain some of the work that we're all doing, towards humanity, without science, it's been difficult for people to really grasp. So for me, I just love it that science and Dr. David Bohm and all of the work that's been done is confirming our reality of non-reality. That makes any sense.
Things aren't what we thought they were.
Right.
How refreshing. What a relief.
What a relief.
So we have a little bit more than 15 minutes. That's time to get us into some toning. There's some toning on page 35. I'm happy to read unless somebody else is eager.
Go ahead. Before you do, can you tell me where we are? Because I've been listening, but I'm not on the right page.
Yep. Are you with a book with pages or are you looking at something online?
Yep.
32. Top of the page, the tutelage. The tutelage you receive here is coming in increments as you can comprehend it. And we only teach to the assembled as they may be taught. To comprehend truth is to come into an awareness that the transitory nature of a perceived reality is simply an illusion. To comprehend truth is to come into an awareness that the transitory nature of a perceived reality is simply an illusion, being justified through the collective idea of what should be. Boom. Now, when we say illusion, we are not suggesting that it does not exist. The illusion you live in is real, but it is premeditated through conscious thought in the collective realm. The agendas that each of you hold for the world you live in and live in for thousands of years and have lived in for thousands of years create the form, justifies the form that you have chosen to experience. What exists beyond this realm in higher octaves is the fabric of reality expressing itself in different ways. the sum total of all you may experience as God. But the sliver you experience here is God as well. And once you realize it is God, you begin to experience in a very different way the occasional idea that what you see may be holy because all is holy is in fact recomprehended to the realization that the divine in scale is always present and may be perceived at any moment as what it has always been. The illusion, then, of form itself becomes somewhat elastic to your presence. Understand this, friends. The divine as you, in its encounter with the fabric of reality you see, claims the landscape that you express through in the higher octave that you know yourself through. In other words, your very presence on this plane reclaims the presence of God, which is inherent in all manifestation. The presence of God, which is inherent in all manifestation. Any thoughts before I read a little more?
Actually, I do have a thought. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not,
Not at all.
taking up too much of the airways here, but I mean, how can that be? My small self says, well, how can it be in everything? But, also I wonder how is the universe inside of me? I don't know. Sometimes it's maybe, thinking too much.
Yeah, well, and also, I mean, this is the path of alchemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's designed to blow our minds.
Right.
To think on it, to meditate on it, takes us to its own limit. And we can only comprehend if we have our minds blown, and then there's something that comes after
Get
that.
a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, they said that the tutelage you receive here is coming in increments. Yeah, as you can comprehend it. Mm-hmm. They're good. They're master teachers. Now, to experience this is to allow yourself to be comprehended as of it and not separate from it. You must understand this. If you are separate from it, you cannot comprehend it because it is not of you. But in realization, and we underline that word, of who and what you are, you become the fabric of the divine that is as you and is as all things. In this union of your expression, which is known through the claim, I know how I serve, the vibrational field that is you, in its connectivity to the manifest world, sings into being the divine that is inherent, and you experience it as what exists, has always been, and will always be true. As the divine as you is true, no matter what you think, how much you would deny or refute, the same must be so for everything you see. As everything you see is in tone and vibration, you may meet it in the tone you express through, and the tone you express through as the divine meets what it sees in alchemical ways. The idea of the divine expressed in form is the definition of true alchemy. In the manifestation of form and the transmutation of it to the degree we teach in form is the manifestation of Christ in man. I love the misunderstanding being rectified because in my Christian religious education as a young person, I read, there's biblical text that says Christ is for all men, for all humans. And it led to this extractive idea that Jesus was for all humans. Because we conflated Jesus with Christ. And the guides make it clear that that Christ is vibrational field. It's consciousness, which is for all humans. Wonderful. And not limiting at all in any way. Now, again, the term Christ, the aspect of the Creator that can be realized in material form, that's what it is. The term Christ is the aspect of the Creator that can be realized in material form, must be comprehended as the infinite reality that form may know itself in, as of God, in God. As all things must be at this level of comprehension and tone. And the idea that what you are in form and field can be claimed in this way has been called heresy. And will be called it again as you continue this. Heads up. Thanks, guides. But you must understand that true heresy is the denial of God, not the manifestation of it. If you are not of God, then what are you then? Then what are you then? If your skin and bone are not of God, what are you then? If the mind you hold and express as is not of God, then what is it? The realization of these things as the divine, as of the great divine, must be the key here. And it is the key, has always been the key to enter the kingdom. There it is. And we have kingdom coming here in August. The kingdom, again, the awareness of the divine in all manifestation is in fact the expression of the higher room. The plane of experience in density that you choose to incarnate in is present in all ways, but the divine is present as and through it. And your realization of it is what reclaims you and your birthright to be the one who may claim truth or the presence of God in what she sees. The word what is intentional here because the landscape you express in knows itself through form. You must attend to form in its holiness. Imagine a rock in your hand. The rock has predated you, will outgrow the form that it has taken one day, be reduced to powder and dust in the wind. To know the rock is solid in the moment you stand in is to idealize the rock as it is in the moment, to comprehend the rock as of God, and the rock being the shape this rock has taken, the name the rock has used. The being that you see yourself in accord to the rock is also to comprehend that the rock is only a rock because that is how you know it, perceive it, and claim relation to it. When the rock becomes dust, your relationship to the rock has also been transformed. If the dust itself is made of the same stars that you are, of the same water and air that you are not so different than the rock, although the form you have taken heralds a different song. I'm done reading. Paul, what are you doing over there?
What am I doing? I'm listening. I'm following along.
Have love in your eyes. What's going on over there?
Nice of you to say.
It's just my perception. It's the lens I see you through. Any noticings? Is that a word?
Just thinking that where it says the kingdom, the awareness of the divine in all manifestation is in fact the expression of the higher room.
Yeah.
Which is what we were talking about earlier when it was saying the sweater, the beloved sweater, that you have so many memories attached to it.
Yeah.
When you take it to the upper room, all that disappears because we're the expression. We're not the sweater. The sweater's not the sweater. It's not what we remember it as.
Gail, did we give the sweater It's life.
Pardon?
It came from us.
But when we go to the upper room, it no longer has the memory of the being that favorite sweater.
Mm-hmm. It's just a garment in the upper room.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Because
to protect the body.
it's still part of God. It's all part of that, the divine. But it's, maybe I've lost you.
No, I don't think so. I think you're making sense.
Mm.
I guess maybe Gail, I've confused you. I didn't mean to, but I was just thinking that to bringing the sweater into the upper room. Let's say we loved the sweater, and when the sweater gets to the upper room, it doesn't have any memory left, but the love that we gave it is still with us.
Yes, the awareness is there. Yeah.
The awareness of love is still with it. Well, I think that's really all there is that we can take with us when we exit planet Earth.
Mm. Mm.
And the only thing that goes with us is the love that we gave
And experienced and received and were in our very beings. Awareness. Kingdom is defined as awareness. That all things are divine in manifestation. Oh, we're at time pretty much.
This has been great. Thank you for letting me sit in with you guys today.
Well, it's a group's group. It is because we are.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's welcome.
Thank you. That's really wonderful. And you're a great moderator. I don't know if you know that, but you are fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. I do this. I need it. It is the highlight of my week. I do it selfishly, and I'm relieved and grateful that others will join me in it. I appreciate your kind words.
Mm-hmm.
And we all agree with you.
Oh,
Yes, we all agree.
okay.
Thank you.
Blessings. I'll see you all next time.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahalo.